So everyone, welcome to episode number 7 of season 5 of our Zoom garden plot. Uh, as you're probably expecting, we've got a full show tonight. I'm going to show my home garden, and Sarah will be showing what's going on at the Warwick Community Garden. Of course, we'll have our announcements and a Q&A. And with no further ado, this is an introduction to my garden. We have a pavilion in our backyard. And this sort of shows a lot of the things we have growing. But hanging up here is they're mostly Jacob's cattle beans that did pretty well early on, and now they're just drying out. And so, of course, we're looking for time to shell them. And one of the things we had on our patch this year that I really just loved is this patch of anise hyssop. My wife bought a pack of seeds for $2.29. And we had this whole little patch, and you go back there at any time of year, any time of the day, and there's like 5 or 6 different kinds of pollinators buzzing around there. This place is always a buzz. It's a native plant. It smells like a little bit like licorice, anise.
It's pretty.
And then you can see behind it, I've got this supposed to be an arch. So I'd set this up so imagine the camera is moving to the right. So there's a little bit better view of the arch. So this arch has 2 things growing on it: pole beans and loofah squash. So like, for example, you see these big leaves, those are the loofah squash and the pole beans. The thing was, a couple things I think I did 2 things wrong. One was I followed Mark's example. I planted a lot and nothing was coming up, so I planted more, and then everything took off.
Don't blame me.
I'm giving credit where credit is due. I learned a lot from you, Mark.
Oh boy, all my mistakes.
Looks like you have to be very small to fit under that archway.
Exactly. And it actually hasn't produced very many beans up to now. And I think there's 2 reasons. One is maybe there's actually too many vines on there, so some of the leaves are shading the others. And the other, I think it was too hot.
No.
But I want to hear other people's opinion on that. So then if we step with the camera a little further to the right, again, here's more of the arch, and this is just another, this is a different, it's going to be a dried bean. It looks a lot like the Jacob's cattle bean, but it's a pole bean. I had this 1 sack of beans, dry beans that I was planting, and I thought they were all going to be bush beans, but some of them, when I soaked them, they look different. So I put one of them at one end and the others at the other. And so the ones from here on out in the garden were bush beans, but these were actually pole beans. So I just threw up this fence and they're growing up those. And I've got another, so this is part of our amaranth. And this is from where I was standing before, I sort of turned to the right and got a shot of our raspberry stems. Those went for a period in the middle of the summer where they didn't produce anything. I think that was from being too hot also. The other thing was I did much better this year about containing it. You see, I put up these 2, they're like 6-foot sawhorses, and I ran these beams between them. And basically anybody that grows too far outside of that gets cut off, especially down at the root. And when people come by, I like to give them extra plants. But the other thing I noticed was the squirrels were treating this like a tree fort. Before they just had the canes, and what are they going to do? Shinny up a cane, huh? Well, they're running back and forth on these things, and they go up on here and they just hang out and eat raspberries all day. So there aren't many raspberries near the sawhorses. And then this is from the other side of that arch, and this is my larger patch of amaranth. And then this is my strawberry patch. You can see a few strawberries back here, and you can see everything that's overtaken it here. Since I took this picture, I want to show people that, gardening is not all strawberries and cream. Yeah. And so this is the picture of what's going on at my place. And let's see, I want to point out here, there's also a squash growing here. I think that's the Helifino variety of squash. We'll see what grows there. Does anyone know that variety?
What's the name of it?
Yes,
The
yeah, many of us
Halifino?
know that variety, or we don't know
Halifino.
that variety, basically.
No.
Albino.
Oh God, I'm so stupid. I just
I know, it took me a minute too.
I'm like, what an idiot.
I've got a few tomato plants that are doing pretty well. They're producing a decent number of tomatoes, more tomatoes than we eat. I just got these Cormans and I put them in this bed. Didn't have anything else going on. This is my carrot plot. I planted and I watered and I watered and watered and nothing came up. Nothing, nada.
Oh.
So I had to include a picture of it. I have been doing some research on YouTube today, learning what everybody says. I think I should have been more persistent in the watering, maybe once or twice a day, and maybe covered them for the first 5 or 6 days to keep them really moist. That's what I'm thinking. I didn't
But
stick with it long
you
enough,
grew
although it
some
felt like
really
it was.
nice, you grew some really nice markers there at the end.
Yeah, the markers are, although
They
they're not
came
getting
up
any
well.
bigger. They're sort of cropping out at that, and that's the height they're at. I don't think
They're
they're going to
very
get any
tasty
bigger.
too. I hear they're very tasty.
Yeah, I find carrots very difficult to.
Yeah.
I grew 1 year. That's it.
Yeah.
After that,
Carrots are
not so
really
good.
hard.
Yeah. I find if you put them in the spring during the rainy season, you've got a better chance.
Okay,
But I've
I did
always
try
Like
found
to.
them
they're hard to grow.
and they're not like they're sporadic. They like you get clumps and then the bare area and clumps. I just never seem to be able to. Yeah, they're very tough.
Mhm.
They take
Okay.
forever to germinate.
That's why we have this. That's why we have the Zoom garden plot, so people can say, "I did something really bad," and everyone says, "Yeah, that's pretty tough to do anyway."
Yeah.
It's helpful because people are out there saying, "What am I doing wrong?" It's like, well, you're just trying to grow carrots, and that's just tough. And so, it's good to point that out. So
Yeah.
here's my last. I showed this picture before on my main slide, my first slide. This is our pavilion with the dry beans hanging up there. And here you see this arch here is this arch, and this is a close up of it. And so it has less vine on it than the other arch. We have 2 arches. And so this one is producing more beans than the other arch. That's why I'm thinking maybe the overgrowth of vines on the first arch is maybe inhibiting some of the bean growth. Or maybe I just can't find them in there and we'll get to the end of the year and there'll be lots of, dried beans in there that I wasn't able to find.
Mm.
What else is going on back here? I didn't get I can show from here. So these over here, or this right here, is our hazelnut bushes. And behind the hazelnut bushes, we have a couple fig bushes that have never produced any figs, but they grow bigger and bigger every year. And over here is one of our asparagus beds. You can see the asparagus ferns there. And with that much, unless somebody has any questions.
Your garden looks really nice. I like the way it lays. It just looks so like comfortable. Like
It is.
it looks really nice.
Well, thank you.
Yes, don't be so. Yeah, the amaranth looks like. How much amaranth do you need to really actually make have edible or make something out of it? You need a lot more than that, right? Or no?
Um,
Like if you were going to harvest it.
every leaf of that is edible like spinach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can go and spend 3 minutes just picking leaf after leaf after leaf, maybe, a few off every plant, and you've got a good serving of spinach.
Oh. Yeah, I haven't had any luck trying to grow that. I've tried to
You
grow it, but
haven't.
it hasn't grown yet. No.
We can't stop it. This will go to seed. We didn't plant a single one this year. We didn't plant a single one. It was all seeds from last year that, they just came up.
Wow.
And then there's,
Yeah.
I guess the seeds like a grain comes up too, right? I guess at the end, like if you could use it for
At
grain.
the end, yeah, a grain grows on there.
Right.
And
But you don't utilize that part, right? Or do you?
when it's very immature, we sometimes throw it in the frying pan with the leaves.
Hmm.
But once it gets older, it's just a little bit tougher.
Mm.
Okay, and so at this point, we will turn the floor over to Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
So I think you know that our community garden is a no plot garden. We all garden together. And this is what we harvested last Sunday. Now, so you understand the way we do the harvesting is actually we work now on Friday morning and Sunday. And the crops that have to be harvested or they will go bad, like tomatoes, we harvest what's ripe. And then the lettuces, basil, celery, all the greens that you cut the leaves off, that's a self-harvest thing. You take what you need of those because they don't store well. The peppers, I tell people to take the peppers they want because they will not go bad on the vine. But what do you see missing from this picture? Zucchini.
Squash? Yeah.
There's no zucchini.
Wow.
Yeah, Zooks.
Zooks. Very few cukes. So last year we had 0 zucchinis, and this year it's been pathetic. I've got a second batch of them. Looks like some are coming on. And this is really beginning to aggravate me. So I'm going to have a whole studying zucchinis and zucchini dirt and everything and get the zucchinis going again next year like crazy. So everyone's complaining because now they're actually looking for them.
Yeah. But when you have them, there's too many usually, right? And they get big too fast.
Yeah, I mean, we've had like very few. And then the beans, actually, I made the opposite mistake that Michael made. I put in bush beans where I thought I was planting pole beans. And then when I figured it out, I then planted the pole beans. So we've had bush beans, and the pole beans are going to produce at some point. I mean, we have a good pepper crop. It's good this year. We've got banana peppers, jalapenos, serranos, poblanos, cubanellas, and I think that's about it. But we have a lot. The peppers are doing good. We have a lot of peppers. The tomatoes happen to be my personal mission in life. I love tomatoes, so they do get extra care and babying from me, and they're the first thing we work on. Thus, we have tomatoes. And we put in a lot of tomato plants. I've got like 3 tomato beds going on here. What else do we have? We harvested the garlic.
Should we go to your pictures?
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot. We have pictures. So this is a shot of the garden.
Nice.
On the left-hand side, that is a picture I just liked. That's our bean trellis. We grow sugar snap beans on peas on there in the spring, and then we have pole beans on there. And I put the cucumbers on there this year because they take less room growing cucumbers, but they're at the other end. And then that's a couple people back there examining whatever they're examining. Then the large picture shows about a quarter of the garden where, people are harvesting. The people in the front are harvesting basil. There's celery there. You can see tomatoes. You can see the pollinator sign in back there.
Yay!
Next. And that's our zucchini patch.
Oh,
Sarah,
Right?
Sarah, I just looked up to see if there's a particular pollinator that's required for zucchini, and there's something called a squash bee.
A squash what?
A squash bee that pollinates zucchini, and so maybe there's like a loss of that particular type of bee.
But they also, bumblebees will do it too. So
Yeah, bumblebees and honeybees too, it says,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing as a squash bee.
Well, there's a sunflower bee that I discovered because we always grow sunflowers, and we noticed this little tiny bee in the sunflowers that wasn't attacking or anything. It was just hanging out there. And it turns out it's a sunflower bee. We have a lot of bees because we have so much. We have flowers and we have mint and, a zillion pollinator plants around here. But that's the second second 2 hills of squash, and then we planted radishes around them because that's supposed to keep the squash bugs away.
Is
We
there a
did-
secret to not having the, like, every time I grow a sunflower, it just like flops over really badly? Am I supposed to like do something to it? Like, I never have really like upright, beautiful sunflowers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
the
Do you
ones
do you
in
like
this
trellis
picture,
them or something?
no, the ones in the picture on the right are a sunflower that grew from a bird about 7 years ago, and it's a huge sunflower. It's its own muted variety. I grow branching sunflowers because we want cut sunflowers, and the stalk on this thing is about 2 inches, and most of the sunflowers we grow, they're all coming up from reseed. I'm going to put some new seeds in next year, but unless we have big windstorms, this one got knocked down, but I propped it up, but the other ones are standing up all on their own. But they're big.
Is it helpful to plant a bunch of them close together so they help support each other, or is that not good?
Oh no, that's all happened in the past. This spring's planting it got started. It was late. We put in irrigation and that slowed us down. And we had to have the trellis. There were a lot of things that slowed us down, and then the weather got crazy. So normally
I tried to go back to the previous slide to show the other shots of the sunflowers. These are other shots of sunflowers, right?
those are sunflowers,
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, I know this always has gorgeous sunflowers, but
But yeah,
mine always
see
grow.
there.
But then, like when the head comes up, the head just like flops over.
Yeah.
But are you growing branching or single-headed sunflowers?
I guess single. I didn't. I put a lot of seeds in, and then one usually lives.
But is it just one stalk with one big flower on top?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
that
I grow-
happens for me as well.
I grow branching sunflowers.
Oh,
The
that's
reason,
that more supportive
See-
that way. Okay, I'll try that.
well, the thing is, the reason we want sunflowers is part of our garden is cutting flowers.
Hmm.
That's one of the things that everyone likes. You come to the garden and you get a nice thing of zinnias and some sunflowers. This purple stuff back here is a Japanese herb that I always forget the name of. And everyone hates it.
Chisu.
That's it. It's widely hated in this garden because it's protected by me. I find it wonderful in flower arrangements. You put it in and you put sunflowers in and it's gorgeous.
You can also make a tea with it. The Chinese name is zisu, yeah. Purple
Yeah, I
perilla.
know. I told everybody to make tea with it. Now, I tried eating one recently. I was going to put it in the basil. It was too late. It was tough, but it's a beautiful plant and very prolific. I mean, this whole thing was covered with this stuff.
We have some of that in our yard also, even like out front, and the deer don't eat it. That's a benefit. If you want to plant this in your yard because you like that, you want to add that purple color to your yard, deer won't eat it.
Well, that's good to know because I'm always bringing plants over, but to my house, I mean, I have enough to supply all of Orange County, but knowing the deer don't eat it is very helpful. And
Chad,
then
I've been
this-
toying with the idea that sunflowers are heavy feeders for nitrogen, and because you guys helped me find out that my soils was nitrogen depleted, so I was thinking maybe that's why my sunflowers fall over. I haven't tested it yet.
Oh, okay.
I personally just think they're falling over because of the wind.
Yeah, it's been a rough season with the
Yeah.
it gets incredibly hot. Then you got these big rain, windy storms. It's all
So
over
you think about it, the ones with the giant sunflower heads, you've got this big heavy stalk that's going like what, some of them are up 10 feet high, more or less, and a big head, big flower head on top of it. It's very heavy.
Right.
So wind coming through, that top part is going to catch most of the wind. It's going to fall over more easily. These branching ones, they branch everywhere and they bloom continuously. You just keep cutting them, cut them so you don't cut the buds, and you get lots of flower arrangements from them. And I mean, a really heavy windstorm will knock them down, but you know, medium windstorms, they're going to come through. They're not going to be just carried over by one big head. And
Okay.
as far as the sunflowers, we plan to put them in like crummy soil in the worst part of the garden every year along the edge. I've had huge stands of them. There was then, you know, some people, it's hard when you have like 25 people, 20, 30 people. Some people want one thing, something want another. So we kind of compromise. And that's Cleome, that purple thing here by the wheelbarrow. That's Cleome. Called the mirror. It looks like a marijuana plant when it's coming up. We're wanting to grow in our garden, but we can't. There's been a request.
The town will let you do it, or it's just like you don't want to get involved in that stuff?
Oh no, we're on the grounds of the community center. And they're kind of anti-drug.
Yeah.
It's one of their missions in life.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't appreciate if you had big marijuana plants growing in the
It's
garden.
right next to a playground, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah, that's a big no-no. So
Oh.
anyway, you know, we've already harvested the garlic, and there you see people. We've planted our second round of greens for the fall. The first up there at the top where the row cover is, there's some bok choy still under there, but we've put in a whole new planting of kale, arugula, mustard greens. What else? I put some carrots in. I haven't seen them come up either. An assortment of lettuces. The beets didn't do very well. I think it was too hot. They kind of struggled. Swiss chard is still growing well. Basil's still growing. And I had a huge dill crop. I like dill grow a lot. That's gone.
One of the things I've tried in the past is to keep because I was in the community garden with Sarah for a couple of years. And one of the things I tried to do is grow some Swiss chard under the arches. So then it gets all the shade. That didn't quite work out this year, but I have tried that in the past.
Yeah, we're successful with the arches, with the greens. You know, at some point they begin to, we don't cut the plant, you know, we just cut the leaves. So it keeps growing new leaves. That's, I don't know if you cut the plant or the leaves. But the covers for in the hot weather do work just the same way. We'll cover up the items that are left that can withstand frost. We'll cover up and they'll be able to come over. People can come over and get them into December. And I usually have some spinach and arugula that winter's over. So that's cool. And I had a few more tomato plants hanging around, so I put some more tomato plants in over there. Over in the orchard, I didn't take any orchard pictures. Unfortunately, we didn't get any peaches this year. They have some kind of disease going on. The winter squash are blooming, and I saw lots of bees. I went over and looked at them yesterday, and there are bees down in them, so presumably they'll be producing. And we have pawpaws this year. Last year there weren't any pawpaws. This year we're loaded with pawpaws. And I can't think of anything else at the moment. But it's
So, before we go on to the shimmy in place, does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
I have a question. Sarah, is most of your garden raised beds? I can't.
There's a number of raised beds and there's a couple of open beds. The tomatoes are in open beds. That big bed with the arches, with the trellis, that's an open bed. And then there's another open bed that you can't see in this picture. And then there's raised beds throughout the garden. The open beds are used for the large, like tomatoes need a lot of room. So I put the tomatoes, and we grew fingerling potatoes. I forgot about those. They were kind of small this year, but we did some fingerling potatoes too. They've been harvested.
Well, your gardens both look better than you were saying, and they're not horrible.
Oh, yes.
All right.
It's not horrible, but I've done better. I'm going to mute because the dog is now barking.
Okay, well then, folks, I guess it's that time. We can shimmy in place. So it's everyone's turn to stand up for a few minutes, stretch the legs. Not a few minutes, just a minute. It's hard on the body to sit still for so long. So stand up for a minute and be right back. See you soon.
Hmm.
Well, welcome back, everyone.
Hey, all refreshed.
Yes.
Great. I put this book up. We have our announcements next. Um, our book club is reading this book, Bringing Nature Home. It's a really good book, written by Doug Tallamy. It came out in 2007 when I think historically there was just starting to be an upswing toward native plants. Before that, there wasn't really such an important aspect of gardening. And of course, since then, it's just been growing and growing and growing. But this book, I've been reading it. It just very basically explains why you really need to do native plants, and it's very well thought out and researched and all that stuff. He has a later book. What was the other book that he did later?
Nature's Best Hope or something like that? Or-
Nature's Best
That's
Hope,
the one.
yes,
Yeah.
in which he talks about Homegrown National Park,
Yeah,
where
I'm
we
not
can,
sure.
if everybody dedicated a corner of their yard or part of their yard to growing native plants, we could recreate basically a national park spread out. Um, we'll be meeting on Zoom on Tuesday, the September 10th. That's at 3 p.m. I know some people work. I think this book might have special interest. If there are people who want to discuss this book, but they're not available because maybe they work, maybe they have a day job. Um, I'd consider setting up something on the weekend or whatever for people to get together and have an extra discussion of this book. And then, Sally, do you want to tell everyone about all of the pollinator pathway stuff that's going on? Wait a minute,
Sure.
but we have to log off before 9. So just,
Okay, I'll keep it brief. Um, well, actually, tomorrow we're meeting in Memorial Park at 11 o'clock. Is that on here? I haven't read
it's
this.
not, it's not.
Yeah, we're meeting at 11 o'clock tomorrow to have a meeting with Hudson Valley Pollinator Project, which is Anne and Toby from Orange Environment. They were working in tandem with them to replace the invasives that we've removed at Mountain Lake Park with a 40-foot pollinator garden. As you can see, September 10th is our next meeting at Mountain Lake Park at 8 a.m. And again, October 8th, it's the second Tuesday of every month. And so, yeah, we have seen some great results from the invasives that we have removed. They've started to come back, but a lot less severe. And so yeah, we've got that. And October 9th, we're hosting an event at the library, as you can see, with the Partners for Climate Action Hudson Valley. And they're gonna tell us about their action guide. And yeah, so, and then, yeah, the official installation of the pollinator garden is scheduled for October 12th at Mountain Lake Park. And we have a Google Drive going with a lot of the photos from start to finish. And also one of the newcomers to our pollinator pathway committee has been taking the list of plants that we are looking at installing, and she's coming up with little informational guides about each of the plants, and we've been sending some of those out as part of our email that we communicate to the pollinator committee with, and sharing some of that information. So yeah, we have some newcomers, and it's been really nice to see some new faces. We could definitely use some more volunteers, and we are looking for some children, by the way, some youngsters, let's say, to assist us with this effort of the pollinator garden installation. It is kind of a requirement for the grant that is going to help us out with the financing the effort. And yeah, there we go.
Sally, I have a question about, this is the same group that was selling the plants over at the winery last year, right?
Yes, they were there this year,
Yeah.
selling
What happened
plants.
to that lady who was operating that and had the things over in the greenhouse?
I'm not, is it Pam Golban? I'm
I
not.
think her name was Ann something.
Oh, Ann Wabrowski. She's gonna be there. She's part of it still. She's still there.
I have to look up her name. Anyway, I just want to tell you, we got a lot of plants from that particular project last year. And over in our orchard, we have a pollinator garden planted, which is doing nicely, and it's fenced. And I was given about 5 sample pollinator kits to give to different people to try them out. And I don't know, she never followed up to find how they grew, but I wanted you to know that some of the plants that were supposedly deer resistant got chomped down.
Okay.
So I don't know if what you're putting in is fenced or not.
No, it's not fenced.
Okay.
It's right by the pickleball court.
That is Ann Wabrowski, and she will be with us tomorrow, and we can help her get in contact with you so you can report that back to her. We refer to her, because her last name is so hard to pronounce, we sometimes call her Dr. Ann.
Okay. I'm busy tomorrow morning, but yeah, just send me.
As soon as I get off, I can send an email to the two
Yeah,
of you and say,
send the email, and I'll tell her what I know about the plants.
okay, very good.
Okay, thanks.
Ellie, I don't know if you're having a hard time, if it's difficult to get kids over there or what age you're looking for, but Cody's gonna be in the Pi kindergarten class. I know that they like to do community-based learning, so I don't know if that's something you want me to bring to them or not.
Michael, would they that
Well,
age group?
my favorite saying, there's always room for pie.
Yeah, so the more the merrier, I guess. We'll definitely, if you can put out the word at the
Basically,
school.
Orange Environment got a grant, but part of the grant requirement is when they plant stuff, they have to have kids involved. So if it was a pie program or something they wanted to come out and help, that'd be perfect. If this is on a Saturday, if they needed to schedule another day to go out, maybe a school day, a field trip, we'd take it. We would do that.
That's the October 12th date that you were
October 12th is a Saturday. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time on that. I'm sure everyone wants to hear from Chad about his farm to table fundraising dinner.
No, so you guys are doing great stuff. It's very exciting. Yes, we're having our Grow Local Greenwood Lake. We're doing our second annual farm table fundraising dinner at the Elks Lodge on September 12th. You go to our website made by the amazing Christy Erfer, and get tickets. That's the one thing we do every year to, because everything we do is free. Our garden is free. Our compost pickup is free. Our classes are free. So that's the one time we try to have some money for the rest of the year. But so yeah, and it's a really great event. It's all local food served by Jamie Heller, the Buzz. So again, we'd love to see you there. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, and the signs are still for sale. If you want a sign, get them at Corn Florists.
Those signs are taking over Warwick.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I see
Practically
the
like an
signs.
invasive species almost, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It's perfect.
So
I
then
love
we have to spray the signs, eradicate them.
it. Yes. Pull them out if you see them, right?
So the first question we have is, actually, let's do this in reverse order. Number 2 first, because, let's go from past to future. So what crops did well for you this year and which ones were not so good?
Yeah, I would say it wasn't the greatest year overall. Again, yeah, we had very so-so luck with our squash. They would produce 2 or 3 and then die out. Cucumbers, we've never had luck in our community garden for some reason. A lot of kale was very good. Swiss chard, we always have a good go of it. Basil and tomatoes, very strong. Strawberries are good. And we have these scallions, and we have a lot of beautiful perennials. We grew artichokes for the first time, which was exciting to cook that up. So overall, not a bad year, but I guess those are the ones that did well for us. What about you, Mark?
Everything was okay, but it wasn't outstanding. The tomatoes were good. Peppers were much better than last year. The potatoes, the blues and the reds were good, but the russets were tiny. I wouldn't say tiny, but they were small. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't get a chance to water them as much. That probably didn't help. Zucchini was fine, but they put out the plants we got a lot of borers. I got a lot of borers, so the plants would put out 3, 4, 5 zucchinis, and then you get a borer in there and it would kill it. The patty pan, same thing. Cucumbers, I had planted a couple of them. I got a bunch, and then the plants got borers. But I grew pole beans. I grew two big mounds of pole beans, and I think I probably got maybe like 2 handfuls. I just tore them out after and used them as in soil enhancer. And herbs, the basil, I had beautiful basil, and I took a trip to Iceland. I come back 9 days later, they're like dead. So I think to the humidity and they just got like a lot of fungal diseases and just collapsed. But so I wouldn't say like it was good, but it's just like it seems like I'm getting the more work I put in, the less I'm not getting like these outstanding crops like I did. They're getting good, but they're just not like there were years when I would have so many tomatoes and they were perfect, and it just seems like less and less. And next year I'm going to be doing a lot of I have vacations coming up and other things that I'm not going to be able to get to the garden, and I'm going to just let it go fallow. I'm going to plant cover crops and mass plantings of flowers, and I'm just going to kind of like let it rest. I think the thing is I'm not going to have time. So like if I plant all my tomatoes and then I'm away for 3 weeks in August, it's like, what's the point? Like, somebody's got to pick them and then give them to somebody else, or they're just going to rot on the vine. So I think the timing of it is bad, but I know I'm rambling on, but it was okay. It wasn't anything great. It was a good year, but it wasn't like, there's years when you always have something really good and maybe a failure, but this year was just all kind of like, eh.
Tell us a little bit about you. So you had pole bean vines and you just bury them? How do you?
I just they weren't diseased. They didn't have any Mexican bean beetles. So I said, you know what? Let me use these as like a mulch or a soil enhancer. So I just dug them up, pulled them up by the roots. I had a ton of bean greens, and I just buried them in the soil, maybe like a half foot in the soil, and let them just rot away. And they're still in the process of rotting, just to enhance the soil. If they're diseased or they have any kind of insect issue in any way, I get rid of them. But these were in pretty good shape, so I just figured let me use them to enhance, at least get something out of it, because they produced. I think I had one serving of string beans out of them, and they weren't even that good. So
I mean,
and I
I'm
was gonna
still thinking mine are going to keep producing. It's almost like they just started producing because I'm used to them like producing all summer. So, but it's
I
just that
was
they're a little bit late.
impatient.
But you're,
I also was going on vacation, and I just wanted to clean it out, and like I just was impatient. They weren't doing anything. It kind of annoyed me because and I just was like, I'm done with these. Tore them out. Used them. I figured I'll just use them for soil enhancement, and and the other thing too, I was going to be gone for a week and a half, and if all of a sudden they decide to produce and all, I have all these string beans. There's nobody there to pick them. So I just figured the
maybe
best
you
thing.
could get
Yeah.
Cody's daughters to camp out there next summer or something. They could do summer camp. They could like hang out and pick
Yeah,
beans in there
and
for their
tomatoes.
afternoon activities.
Yeah,
They're for bears.
because I will be away like a lot in August. My daughter might is maybe moving out to Wyoming, and I may have to move her, and then we're taking a cruise in July. So it's like I'm going to be taking 2-3 weeks shots at a time where I'm not going to be able to get to the garden at all or very little.
Okay.
So anyway, but it was good. It's good. And now that I'm retired, I'm retiring. I'm going to take a trip down there if that's okay with you guys to visit you, and then of course, you guys want to visit me, come up and visit me.
Can't
We
wait.
should, yes, we'll
Yeah.
do that.
We have to record the road trip.
Yeah.
We should do a potluck dinner somewhere, like maybe out in
Yes.
my pavilion. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, does anyone else want to say about how the crops did, what did well, and which ones were not so good?
Cody-
My strawberries were great. I have like the ever producing type, but I have them in a garden box on my deck, and Dave had strawberries in his cereal every morning for, I don't know, a month and a half already, so it's been good. But it's in a garden box that has a water reservoir under it, so it never got dried out.
Cody, how do you make out with your tomatoes? Because and your other crops? Did you do okay?
Yeah,
My
I did.
tomatoes, yeah, my tomatoes definitely recovered after the fish emulsion suggestion. That was really good. They definitely had a slow start. They're taking forever to ripen. My black beauties
Mhm.
aren't doing that great, but they're really beautiful. I have these New Jersey devils that are shaped like peppers, and they're doing really well. And all of a sudden this week they're all ripening. They're really fun to eat. Definitely nothing I could can or anything like that, like the delusions of grandeur I had, but fresh eating is fun. But the thing that did best in my garden was the zinnias that I've never planted before, and I just threw like packs out front, and now they run along the entire walkway. They're so beautiful. I love them so much. That's what did the best. I did bush beans that did really well, and I just kept dipping them in ranch dressing and eating them. But my electric fence at some point turned off and stopped working, and I think some critters figured that out, started getting under, and they started plowing the bush beans over and just eating.
That's
Like they
shocking.
completely down to the stem. They weren't like
Maybe
really messing with a lot of other stuff, but I planted another round to answer the second question. I planted another round of those bush beans because they were doing so well for the fall, and whatever got in there ate all my seedlings. And when I told you guys I had the slug problem, and I replanted all those sunflowers that the slugs had eaten with I should have done it every few days, but probably once a week I was switching out the beer traps for fresh beer, and those slugs are just like, yeah, they go straight into that, and then I feed them to the chickens, which I still can't determine if that's really that healthy, but I'm sure it's fine.
Your chickens getting drunk.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why
Walking a
they're
little
so
funny.
happy lately. But yeah, the sunflowers are still hanging in there. My second round, they're not huge and they do flop right over. Not when they're tall. They're like 2 or 3 feet tall, and then they're kind of wimpy. I don't know. So I think my soil is still pretty nitrogen depleted, but hopefully when all that wood stuff breaks down over the winter, and I have bought cover crops too, like clover and pea cover crop or something to throw in there. So hopefully that'll be better next year.
So I just wanted to tell a little story about 15 years ago, I went to Tuscany for a painting trip, and we were taken to this field, and this is the painting because I don't have the photo with me. This field, and it went from the road out to that mountain, and it was nothing but sunflowers. And they were so tight in there.
Wow,
It
thanks
was
for
like
rubbing
a
it in.
sea of yellow. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh.
But what I'm saying, that was why I said before about planting a lot of them close together. I think that was part of the
Maybe.
deal. I think they held each other up, you know?
Mhm.
Anyway, it was magnificent. I
It's a
have
good
to say.
analogy for life. We all need community.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
Yeah.
They hold each other up. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although monocultures aren't so good in general.
Mm.
Uh, Christy, it'd be great if you were to like get a picture of that, and we can. It would be good to like include in a picture somewhere. I don't know,
Yeah.
a digital. Let's see. The other question was, what are we planning to grow in our fall gardens?
Mm.
Or are we all just sort of taking naps and calling it quits on the garden, just sort of trying to clean up?
I'm
Not
gonna
too
try
much more.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a little burst of it. I think I'm gonna put some lettuce in, bok choy, maybe some snap peas. I'm trying to get in touch with Rise and Root Farm or that Chester Agricultural Center, because I remember last year I was able to get they had a lot of good seedlings of like turnips and parsnips, but they're hard to, and broccoli. It's hard to reach out to them, but I would like to plant. A lot of our beds are kind of dead already, so I'm going to pull them up and try to put some new stuff in. But
Mm.
I'm hoping
I'm
to.
gonna grow the purple top turnips and the daikon radishes for cover crops, and I'm gonna use them in my fall soups because I make a lot of soups. And when you cut up the turnips, and I don't like turnips and I don't like radishes, but when you cut them up and put them in soup, they you don't taste them and they taste fine, and I know they're really healthy for you and everything. So it's just like a white blob or a white chunk of something. Almost the radishes almost look like potatoes when you have them in the soup. So, so I plan on using that and using that for a cover crop. So
I like to grow spinach in the fall. I mean, we've put in a second round of greens, and I really only eat kale in the fall because in the fall, when it gets cool out, it has a really nice flavor. Otherwise, it's kind of too green for me. But spinach, we love spinach, and spinach doesn't, bolts when it's hot out. So I'll put in a lot of spinach pretty soon. And it does not, it's very frost hardy, extremely frost hardy.
So you haven't put it in yet then? The spinach?
I don't think so. We put a bunch of things in. There's a few beds that are about gone and ready to clear out. So we've been putting in some things that grow very quickly just for this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
But probably in the beginning of September, we'll put in a lot more spinach.
Okay. I think I'll do the same then. That sounds good. My Swiss chard is still going strong because I just take a little off,
Yeah.
for my dinner or whatever, and it just keeps going and going. It's wonderful.
A lot of the problem this summer was, it was like warm really early. Then the weather was very inconsistent and downright. I mean, remember how hot July was? It was just too hot. And like we have a lot of tomatoes now, they're evening out, but there was a lot of splitting when you have all that uneven water and heat. They just crack. And we grew a lot more large tomatoes this year than we usually do. And they're good, but hi Kitty, but they're definitely they're not like they taste good, but they're not looking perfect. So hopefully we will get some even rain for the fall. even rain.
Well, we're getting close to the end, and I still want people to be sharing their thoughts about what they're going to plant this fall. But I do like to also this, everyone talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, right? Anyway, these are the long-term forecasts for August and September. Does it look like this is about right for August? That way back at the beginning, at the end of July, we had some really scorching days.
Mm-hmm.
But then basically sort of your average heat with a few really cool ones. Was that
Mhm.
seem about right?
Mm-hmm.
And so don't be fooled. So this is 80 degrees up here. So this is not like it's going to jump up higher.
Right.
But what did I see? I think the average high today is like 79. So I think no, the average high for the last day of August is 79. So this must be about 79 and 78. It goes down by the end of the month.
Well, the other factor we're forgetting about is daylight hours.
Mhm.
I mean, your tomatoes have to have the heat, the water, and the long daylight. Whereas the greens are out, don't need that heavy sunshine and long days.
I wanted to try for carrots. Is it too late?
I think it might be too early.
Oh, okay.
I think if you start around, well, maybe Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
Usually you start
Yeah.
planting fall stuff traditionally around Labor Day or around that week around that week. But it's also kind of dry. Like I think we need that
It's the dryness.
fall rain or something because it's going to
Right.
be so hard unless you're out there every day watering it. It's so hard to plant until the rains
I'm gonna
come.
try that, the wood board method that they talk about. You lay the board onto, it's supposed to keep the moisture in, right?
Oh,
Right.
Mhm.
I saw that
Hopefully
too
we'll
on
see.
my YouTube research today.
But the thing is, things like celery, I buy celery plants, and celery, if you don't keep it really well watered all summer, it grows, but it's very tough, and it's delicious. We love the celery, but the things with carrots, the beets, the root crops, they need consistent, even moisture. And if they just dry out for a week or two, and then they get rain again. So you need to either be consistently watering or irrigating to get a decent crop, which is why fall is generally better for those crops because the fall rains hopefully arrive. So,
yeah, it's a lot easier. Yeah, same
Yeah.
with parsley. Parsley needs water too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it
But-
depends on how committed you are to watering.
We'll see.
And the weather too. If the weather
Yeah.
gets wet, because you can have a dry fall too, and then
Right.
we'll see.
So just know that going in. Go ahead and plant and see what happens. But just realize some of the crops will not. We've all tried growing them for years, and they're only successful when they have consistent water. Other ones are more forgiving.
I'll try to assign a child to it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
And wait, before we leave, when are we meeting next? September 23rd or 7:30? No? What do you guys say?
Well,
Oh,
what have
are we
we
going
been
back?
doing the fourth? The fourth Monday? Is
All
that
right,
what
I don't
we
know.
did?
It's because
That's
that's Labor Day. I don't know.
yeah, the fourth Monday is the 23rd. And probably by 7:30 we'll all be inside because it'll be dark by then.
So we'll make it 7:30?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll definitely be dark out. Yeah.
Okay.
And Mark will be 3 days away from retiring at that point. I'm
Oh
sure
no,
he'll
I will be. Actually, I'm planning on the 20th, unless they say we have to keep you to the 27th, and I don't think they want to keep me. They want to get rid of me.
I can
No.
only wait to see how much he spins his camera when he's
Yes.
actually retired. That's like, I'll just be so dizzy about it.
I cannot wait. I'm like, I was hesitant to pull the trigger. Now that I pulled the trigger, it's like, God, I wish it was the 19th today because I'd be retiring tomorrow. But gotta wait.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you. Bye-bye.
Happy gardening.
Bye.
Keep in
Bye-bye.
touch.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.